Hi everyone. I hope you can hear us and see us. We will be getting started in a few minutes. We're just waiting for some more people to join. Um, but we would love for you, if you'd like to follow on with the facial today, to have some warm water with you, maybe some cotton pads and a hairband if you want to, or something to tie your hair back with. So if you want to go and grab that while we're waiting, before we get started, that'd be super fabulous. And if everyone could just make sure that they are on mute for the meeting, and you are very welcome to have your cameras on or off, whatever you prefer. Totally up to you. For anyone who's just joined, we're just waiting a couple more minutes and then we will get started. If you could grab a headband, some warm water and some cotton pads if you'd like to follow on along with the facial, that'd be great. Just going to give it a couple more minutes. I hope everyone received their products okay in the post. I know obviously the post has been a bit delayed in the past year, so I really hope you got them. Please do let us know if not, and we can kind of chase that up for you. And in the chat, we have Michaela, who will be answering any queries from the Eve Lom side, in terms of kind of like pricing, about the products and things like that. And then we will be obviously hearing from Erica, and she'll be answering your more detailed questions throughout the session. But please do put all of your questions in the chat. Anything you'd like to ask, put it all in there and we will get to it throughout the session. I think let's get started, and we can kind of admit people in as we go throughout the session. So with that in mind, I will hand over to Erica, who is the amazing international training director. Is that your job title from Eve Lom? She can introduce herself and talk a little bit about the brand. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to our session this evening.
So hello everybody and welcome. I am delighted to welcome you to this session today. As has been said, my name is Erica McCallum. I work as the international trainer at Eve Lom, delivering training across all of the products and also in the facials. If you also have ever been to an Eve Lom facial event, you may well have seen me before. I also deliver the facials. I wear lots of hats at work, but when it comes to passing on my knowledge, giving hands-on facials, it's definitely a part of my job that I absolutely love. So I'm delighted to be here with you and sharing that knowledge. So with that in mind, we will be doing a facial that you guys can kind of follow the steps along with me today. So if you have a hairband to hand, some cotton wool and some water for your cloth that you will have found in your begin and end set. I have a headband here that's obviously very subtle and understated. When we're doing this facial along, I'm also going to be giving you some tips and tricks, things that I like to include in facials and I know are really, really important for my skin. We can talk about skincare products till the end of days, but there are some tips that work incredibly well when we're trying to get more radiance from the skin and that are really helpful to know when you want to know a little bit more about your skincare. So my name is Erica. I am in charge of training and facials and treatments at Eve Lom. I'm lucky I get to work across product development. I work with marketing. I'm obviously customer facing for a lot of the time, so my role is very varied. I've been with the company for nearly 5 years, and I've been a facialist and masseuse for the best part of 15 years. So I have been around the block when it comes to beauty and skincare. To tell you a little bit more about Eve Lom. Very generally, we tend to find that Eve Lom customers are either brand new to the range or they are people who've come from a bit of a heritage background. So by that, we mean somebody who comes to us and says, oh, my mother used this product, my friend used it, my godmother, my aunt. I used a little bit when I was younger and it's my turn to buy it now, and it's a product I've loved for a long time. When we talk about cleansing balms, Eve Lom really is the godmother of cleansing balms. And when we talk about the Eve Lom brand, we were founded by a facialist, Eve Lom herself, about 35 years ago. She was working in Hollywood as a facialist, and she wanted a product to recommend to all of her clients that was multi-benefit, suitable for everyone, that was suitable for people to use between their facials to thoroughly cleanse their skin, leave it looking radiant and healthy, but also that would maintain skin health. And those of us who do look after our skin can say that skincare now, the skincare market is an amazing place. There's a product for everything and everyone on the planet. But when it comes to even 15 years ago, when I was starting in the industry, it didn't look like it does now. And I can't imagine what that looked like 35 years ago. So there was a real need for this product when it was launched. So as that Eve Lom cleanser was created, the brand then developed along behind that. We have some heritage products that we've had for a long time, and we've also got some products that have only been launched for a year or two. As a brand, we are founded on the belief that radiance begins with the perfect cleanse, and that very first step is your most important. It doesn't matter how amazing you are at makeup, how beautiful your skincare products are. If you're not thoroughly cleansing your skin, removing all traces of makeup and taking the day off, then you can't possibly expect the best benefits from your skincare, or you can't expect the best things from your makeup. So we're always going to talk about that being the most important step. When we're talking about revealing radiant skin, lots of people do have radiant skin. What we tend to find is it tends to be something that is more natural when we're younger. And talking about radiant skin, I think it's important to remember that for me, I remember the fashion 15 years ago was not for radiant skin. Everyone was trying to mattify their skin right down. But we have to remember that radiant, healthy skin is the healthiest look of our skin. It actually really radiates skin health if your skin's at its most radiant. So even if we're talking right now about radiant skin being a fashion, being a trend, even when it's not a trend, that's still what we're aiming for. We still don't want a skin that looks dull and sickly. We want that healthy radiance. So how you assess your skin and how you look at your skin and look at kind of essentially where you might need some changes is to also look at why your skin isn't radiant, why it's not glowing and why it's not really healthy. Now, the simplest way to kind of attach radiance to the aging process is as we age, that natural process of shedding of dead skin cells essentially happens at quite an even pace. It happens quite briskly. It's around about a month, and you tend to find that the skin is left looking very, very even across the whole month. What happens as we age is that process slows down, it kind of gets out of sync, and you'll tend to find that the skin naturally looks duller because it's not as flat and as smooth, so it doesn't reflect light as easily. It's why oftentimes the first step to getting a radiant skin, or the very first step when you're starting to age, the product a lot of us reach for first is a physical exfoliator, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A physical exfoliator it will give you radiant skin if that's the only problem. Now, also as we're aging, other things kick in. So if we're spending a lot of time at a computer screen, obviously all of the evidence hasn't been gathered on the long-term kind of negative effects of computer screens. A lot of the time, actually, the benefits of blue screens outweigh the negatives. They are very good for positive thinking, and they're supposed to be better for working out for long hours. That blue light isn't necessarily all bad, but we don't know the long-term effects of our skin, and it is a form of light. So it is likely to be causing some kind of stress reaction in our skin. Now, stress reactions cover pretty much all of the bases when it comes to skin. You can find that you get flaking, irritation, redness. You can find you get breakouts. The one that doesn't necessarily stick to that rule is much more physical, and that is an overproduction of oil. And if you have an overproduction of oil, you're going to be expecting to see quite high shine on your skin, a buildup of shine throughout the day, and you're much more likely to be aware of more open pores and congested pores. Other signs of aging, lines and wrinkles. Do be aware that when you're in your kind of late 20s, early 30s, you might be initially seeing some dehydration lines, not fine lines and wrinkles. So dehydration lines are what we'd call more of a feathering line. You're often going to see them around the eyes and sometimes around the lips as well. And a really great tip here is to add in hydration to your skincare as quickly as possible. So that's a moisture mask and a hydration serum. Adding in long-term plumping hydration is going to really help those feathering lines. If you're looking for a reduction in lines and wrinkles, we're leaning more towards those anti-aging ingredients. The magic watchword would be retinol. That's the best for lines and wrinkles, but there are other options. And I always say start with hydration and build from there. You don't have to go 0 to 100 when it comes to skincare and the ingredients. So when we're building a skincare routine, you can keep it really simple to begin with. And I always recommend starting with a cleanser and then a moisturizer. And it's why we particularly love our limited edition option that you guys should have received and have with you today. So this is our original signature cleanser, and this is our moisture cream. Now these two work together. They're going to help to improve hydration in the skin. All Eve Lom cleansers will give you up to 12 hours of hydration. And the moisture cream will actually give you longer. It will give you up to 72 hours of hydration. And used together, these are going to really help to reduce signs of stress in the skin. So these are, if you like, the beginning and end of your skincare routine. They're your building blocks, or I like to call them your bookends. If you want to add in more complicated products, if you want to add in a more complex routine, you absolutely can. You can fill your bookcase. And I'm going to talk about some of those other products as we begin to use them. But the reason why we've included these is a good skincare routine isn't always the most complicated one. If you're also like me and you have a reactive skin, I'm going to take all my makeup off, so I'm going to have no secrets from you guys. I get a contact dermatitis on my skin. It's related to stress, and I can calm it down up to a point, but whenever I do my skincare routine, you will always notice that it flares up a little bit red. There's not a lot I can do about it. I use all the right products, but it's something that is just a natural reaction in my skin. I've minimalized it right down, but that's what happens to me. Now, for me, skincare has to help with some redness. It has to help with some flaking as well. Thank you, Patricia, but I am wearing makeup. It is still great. I've looked after my skin a long time. But one of the things that's really important is keeping hydration and keeping the skin really clean and clear. So when I cleanse my skin, I'm also going to take in that muslin cloth that always comes with the Eve Lom cleanser. Now, I have heard tales of people opening the Eve Lom cleanser and throwing the cloth away, which literally sends a strike of lightning through my heart. The cloth is a hugely important part of that original Eve Lom cleanser. It's really important for removing the product really thoroughly, and it's also going to make sure that your skin looks at its absolute best. So I'm about to start cleansing my skin. Do you guys have any particular questions before we start doing that? Lovely. Okay. So when we start, I'm going to start with the Eve Lom cleanser, which is the lower part of your begin and end duo. There's actually a little tip for using this cleanser if you're wearing a heavy eye makeup. I'm not wearing a particularly heavy eye makeup today, but I do obviously want to make sure that I remove it thoroughly, and I'm not in front of a mirror, so it's a little bit more challenging. When I'm doing facials on people, I take a little bit of the cleanser and I take damp cotton wool pads, and I literally just take those across my eyes, and that just breaks down any of the mascara. You can also work the cleansing balm across your lashes, but I find this is a really effective way to just break it down and remove it quite quickly. Also, you may have gathered from what I've said, I do have a slightly sensitive skin that applies to my eyes as well, so I'm always conscious of trying to keep things really, really easy. One of the things I'm always going to talk about when we're talking about skincare, and you'll find me mentioning it in a few different ways, is mindful application of skincare products. So that means always making sure that you're applying your skincare, first of all, to the area it needs it most. So for example, you're always going to apply your moisturizer where your skin's driest first. I know a lot of people who always smooth their moisturizer in from the center of their face outwards, and actually want to apply it wherever your skin's driest first. The other thing is, when you're working across your eyes, if you're removing your eye makeup, I'm quite harsh on my eyes to make sure that I break down all the makeup, but I'm always working down and out. I'm not rubbing it back and forward because I actually don't want to put any makeup or cleansing product into my eye. It sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people work on autopilot. If we've been cleansing our skin in the same way for 20, 30, 40 years, you'll be amazed at the habits that become completely normal. I'm lucky in that I have some better habits, but I am a long way off perfect. So I'm just making sure that I'm removing the worst of the mascara, because as I go in with the cleansing balm, it will break everything down. If you've used the cleansing balm before, you will be familiar that the Eve Lom cleansing balm has a very distinctive scent. It has eucalyptus, chamomile, hops, and clove in it. So it smells like a European spa before you've even used it. And when you're using it, we do recommend taking it as a sensorial experience. Now with the Eve Lom cleanser, you can really take your time. You can take quite a long time to apply it. You can also do it quite quickly. I'm more than capable of removing my makeup in a matter of just 2 minutes if I need to, but it is better if you take a little bit longer. So when you're taking the cleanser, you're going to take quite a healthy amount. I usually start with what I would call a small strawberry and add more if I need it. Always start with less with skincare. I think 90% of people are using too much. So we're going to warm it between our fingers. Always warm your skincare products between your fingers. There is a huge fashion online for people dropping things onto their face. You actually find that skincare products is a totally normal thing. They'll slightly separate in their jar. Always give them a good shake, or always warm them up between your fingers. You're actually making sure the product is at your kind of skin temperature before you apply it, which is the best possible thing. That means it's warmed up, it'll apply better than if it was cold. So we're going to hold our hands over our nose and take some nice deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. You can practice some mindfulness as you do that. Bit of yoga breathing. And we're going to start by just smoothing the product everywhere on the skin. Now, one of the things I really notice when I'm doing some ultimate cleanses, which is our really deep cleansing facial at Eve Lom, where we do extractions as well, is that those of us who wear makeup, we often don't cleanse as thoroughly as we perhaps could. If you blend your makeup beyond your jawline, make sure that you are cleansing right the way down. I would normally be cleansing my décolleté as well, but I am wearing a top because I'm thoughtful like that. So I'm only going to work to my neckline. Also, if you're blending into your hairline, make sure you get your hairline, all right? It's really important that you're cleansing your skin really thoroughly. And when we get back to that kind of mindfulness conversation, using your products properly and thoroughly, how they were meant to be used, you also want to think about where you need the most thorough cleanse. Now, when you're using the Eve Lom cleanser, it's super rich. You can already see how kind of greasy it goes on my skin. It's got this amazing rich butter base. Now, when you're massaging that into your skin, it goes really oily, really, really quickly. And oil breaks down oil better than anything else. So if you are somebody with an oilier skin, you will find that it's helping to break that down. And if you have a drier skin, if you have a congested skin, if you have flakiness or irritation, you will find that it's really, really helping put some nourishment back into your skin. So we're going to make sure that we've got the product absolutely everywhere. And you're going to think about those areas that, as I say, need a little bit more attention. So it might be somewhere where there's some flaking skin, might be where there's some congestion. I have been wearing a face covering this week and I really know about it. So I am just making sure that any areas that might be more prone to congestion, I'm also a little bit hormonal at the moment, so I'm thinking about the areas just under my jawline, which if you do get breakouts along here, that's very, very common for hormones, and that's men and women. Just because it's a different kind of hormone doesn't mean you don't get breakouts. So once we've smoothed it all over the skin, we can then get on to the Eve Lom 7-step massage, which is printed on leaflets inside with the cleanser. It's also available on YouTube. You're going to start with your fingers behind your ears and you're going to do some gentle circles and then you're going to glide down. Now we want to keep the pressure quite light because this massage is focusing on lymphatic drainage. Now, when we're working with lymphatic drainage, now we're going to work from the center in stepping motions out down the forehead. When we're working with lymphatic drainage, we want to keep the pressure quite light because the lymph nodes run quite close under the skin's surface. And it's not a circulatory system in the same way that our heart is pumping blood around. It's actually a series of very, very gentle motions that squeeze lymph through. So we don't want to be working in a deep pressure. That's not going to help move our lymph along. The next movement is my favorite. I do this every morning because I always wake up with puffy eyes. So gentle pressure inwards towards the nose and then lightly under the eyes. You can do this massage once a week and you will still see the benefits. I do this particular movement every day simply because I wake up and I've got just such puffiness. This isn't part of the original massage movements, but I always do some circles on the temples. It just helps to loosen up tension if you're somebody who does carry tension behind the eyes. We're then going to slide under the cheekbones and push up ever so slightly. General look is like a hamster storing food for winter, and the sillier you look when you're doing a facial massage, generally the better it is. And then we're going to push up again, so we're working towards the lymph node that sits in front of the ear. Around the lips, we're going to push the lips into a pout. So first from above, and then from below. And then across the jawline, we're going to make a little fist and pinching our chin between our fist and our thumbs, we're going to just gently pinch along the jawline. If you carry a lot of tension in your jaw, the other thing you can do is take your knuckles and just gently work along the jawline to help loosen down some tension. If you're aware you're carrying a lot of tension in this part of your face, just regularly trying to loosen that down will really help. So once we've done that massage, we're then going to look at removing the cleanser. Now, the reason why I said earlier that I get very upset if people talk about having thrown away their muslin cloth is because it is super important. If you've never used the cleanser before and you've just taken that cloth out of its packaging, you will be able to feel how rough it feels. That is because it is very, very gently exfoliating your skin. Now, it's a cotton muslin cloth, so you can throw it in the washing machine. It needs to be washed at 40 degrees or higher. Remember, to kill bacteria, we want things to be washed at 40 degrees. You can wash at a higher temperature if you're used to washing cottons at a higher temperature. No ill will become it. But we do also recommend that you don't put it into a tumble dryer. Think of how a tumble dryer softens your towels and your sheets. We don't want to soften this cloth. We want to keep that rough texture. So we're getting those exfoliating benefits from it. So it's a very, very gentle exfoliator, gentle enough to be used every day, twice a day if needed. And what you're going to do with your cloth is you're going to immerse it in water and then you're going to open it up. I've cheated and I've got one of the bigger cloths with me here. So you're going to hold this over your face and take some nice deep breaths, preferably in hot water first. If all you've got next to you is cold water, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure that you squeeze it out really tight, because there's nothing worse than an icy cold dribble going down your neck, trust me. And then you're going to hold it against your skin, and you're going to hold it and press it. So you're essentially loosening up the balm, and what you're then going to do is buff off quite vigorously. If you have areas where your skin is very sensitive, you can buff it off much more gently in those areas. If you've got areas like me where you're prone to a bit of flaking, that's where I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive, because I want to make sure that that flaking kind of is exfoliated and buffed smooth. If you hear a really strange noise coming through, I'm afraid I have a dog in this room with me and she started snoring. So I am so sorry, it's so unprofessional. But if you hear strange squeaking noises, I don't have mice. So I'm going to buff quite vigorously. Remember I said I know I can feel the hormonal breakouts coming through, so I'm just going to make sure that I really get those areas. There is plenty of space in the cloth. The ones you guys have is what we call the half cloth. When you buy a full-size cleanser, you do get the full size, but the half size is plenty big enough. You can just keep folding and refolding. You can rinse it through. And when you are using the cloth, you can rinse it through any number of times whilst you're using it. And you'll find that it then will just keep rinsing out really well. So you can rinse it through at the sink and you can reuse it. I would say I usually use a cloth for 2 days and then I'll wash it in the washing machine. When you buy the cleanser, it always comes with the muslin cloth. If you buy a larger size, it comes with 2 muslin cloths. So you always get enough cloths. And when they get soft, so they don't feel like they're exfoliating as well, that is when you want to replace them. But your cloth should last as long as the cleanser. And the thing about this cleanser is because it melts everything down, you will find yourself wiping away for longer than you ever thought possible, because it really does cleanse everything. And you guys saw that I actually didn't use that much of the cleanser. And what you can see as I'm using this cloth is a little bit of an erythema coming up. So that means I'm just getting a little bit of blood flow to the skin surface, which is one of the things that's really good about exfoliation. A lot of people are quite nervous about it. If you have a very sensitive skin, you can work in a slightly more gentle way. But as I'm talking, you'll see it goes down almost immediately. So I'm making sure that, having said I've checked, I've really got into the hairline, I'm also going to make sure that I'm removing it all really thoroughly. Any questions so far about the cleanser or the cloth? No? I will be really brave and show you what this cloth looks like after removing the face of my makeup. Okay, so I am all cleansed and ready to go. As you can see, all of my makeup is now on the cloth. What I'm going to do is I am just going to pat my skin dry ever so slightly, because I'm now going to go on to use the Rescue Toner, which you guys should also have in front of you. Now, the Rescue Toner is nothing to be frightened of, even if you have a dry skin. It's great for excess oil production. It's got witch hazel. It does not have any alcohol in. And like the Eve Lom cleanser, it is clinically proven to hydrate your skin for up to 12 hours. So it's not going to dry your skin out and leave it feeling uncomfortable at all. With your toner, you're going to apply it to some dry cotton wool and brush it over your skin. Again, that mindful application, where do you need the toner most? For me, it's always going to be on the nose and around the nose. The particular kind of dermatitis I get is really lovely in that it both flakes, is sensitive, and that it also gets too oily. So it needs all the love, care, and attention. So I always make sure I do take the toner over that area as well, and that my skin is thoroughly wiped over. It doesn't sting. I don't really hold with skincare should sting to prove that it works. Sometimes a little bit of tingling, a bit of invigoration is fine with certain products, so things like masks and things, particularly if they've got enzymes in. But I'm always a little bit wary if people are like, oh, if it burns, it's good for you. Generally not true. With this one, as I've said, you've got witch hazel. You've also got lentil seed extract, which is fantastic for pore size. We all know pores are not something we can just sort of spring back. So what we want to do is to very gradually work on keeping them really clean and clear. And when you're kind of working on pore size, we want to introduce ingredients that are keeping the pores really clean, because that's what stretches them open, but that you're also making sure that the pore walls are kind of gradually reducing in size. My product development team, when we introduced this toner, they described lentil seed extract as working like spandex on the pores. So it's just tightening gradually, piece by piece. Patricia, yes, absolutely. So when you're using the cleanser, you don't have to do it as much as I do it, but I like to make sure that I've got every kind of drop of the cleanser off, and I really like the sensation of how smooth my skin feels afterwards. And I'm prone to sensitivity, so you can really go to town. If you've got areas that are more sensitive than others, or you do have a bad breakout of acne, I would be quite careful in those areas and a lot more gentle, but you can still scrub quite a lot more. So I've used the toner, my skin is left prepped and cleared. I am now going to go on to use the rescue mask. If any of you are fans of the rescue mask, I'm sure you've tried this product before. This has been around almost as long as the original cleanser, and you should have it in a little tube like this, which is the travel size. Optimistic, I know, but it is the travel size. You're going to give it a really good shake. Now, when you're using the rescue mask, it does have a water content in here, and the water does separate from the clay. You want to make sure it's mixed back in, don't drain it off. You also don't really want to be adding water in, because that is going to be bad for your product. You want to keep the water that's in the product. So give it a good shake if it's in a tube. If it's in the little jar, if you have a full-size one at home, take a spatula or a clean teaspoon and give it a really good stir to keep and retain the water. If you find that your mask has dried out too much, take the product onto your hand, and at that point, before you put it onto your face, add a little bit of water from the tap. You can put fresh water into a mask you're about to use, but you do not want to add it into a product you're going to stick in the jar, because that's when a product might become contaminated. So, fun fact for you, I'm going to use the rescue mask. It's a clay-based mask. With this one, it is white china clay and it's honey infused. Now, honey is antibacterial, which is great if you're concerned about acne, but honey is also incredibly comforting and incredibly healing. When we talk about the roots of the Eve Lom brand, Eve Lom herself, her grandmother was a herbal doctor in former Czechoslovakia, and a lot of the things that we talk about when we're talking about the brand, we do have some really sophisticated ingredients. We've got an amazing retinol range. We use some incredible products and ingredients, but we also have this tie back to the history, to herbal remedies that we think are really important. They've been around a really long time, and we should always like to give them a nod if we can. In this particular product, honey is important because it maintains hydration and healing on the skin. When you've used the rescue mask, you won't ever get any redness or irritation. Your skin will look at its absolute best. Now, I'm going to put this into my hand. You want to get a decent coverage when you're using the rescue mask. I won't go too thick and heavy because I've then got to remove it on camera in front of you guys, and it will take a while. But I'm going to start by smoothing it onto my skin. Now with this one, as I've said, white china clay, honey infused, it also feels incredibly cooling. It's camphor in it. If you can't think of what camphor smells like, think of Vicks Vapor Rub. That's what it smells like. It's very, very cooling. It's incredibly good at decongesting the skin. So it leaves skin looking and feeling clean and clear. But when I talk about decongesting, actually even more than blocked pores, I'm talking about puffiness. If you are prone to inflammation in your skin, this mask is incredible to add in. I think a lot of people think because it's a clay mask, it's only for somebody with loads of oil or with bad breakouts. This is suitable for absolutely everyone. And actually, this is the mask I probably use most in facials across all skin ages, simply because it's super effective. It means that no matter how much of your skin is sensitive or prone to redness, you walk out and you feel cool, your skin looks really, really glowing and healthy, and it makes just the most difference to skin health. As I say, if you're prone to inflammation, it's fantastic. The other thing we use this mask for an awful lot in facials is when we've done extractions. This is the mask that goes on immediately afterwards. And you know, if you've had extractions, you get these lovely little kind of red marks on your skin. Well, those are vastly improved by using this mask. So it really is suitable for absolutely everyone. And when I say it won't dry out your skin, like a lot of Eve Lom products, this has a clinical hydration claim. So it is proven to hydrate your skin for up to 72 hours after use. So you really will not find it's left looking or feeling stripped, dry, or uncomfortable. It's just left looking really radiant and healthy. We do call this mask the mask you should use kind of before you go out, because it leaves your skin looking so good. And also the following day, if you're feeling a bit congested and a bit below the weather, it's a great mask for that too. So it's going to thoroughly decongest. Now, when you're applying it, you're going to make sure that you've got good coverage. You can actually apply it thicker than I've applied it. As I say, it's the easiest way to remove it if you're at home is to actually splash your face with water and then buff off with the muslin cloth. I usually use this if I'm in the bath or I'm going to step into the shower, and then I get most of it rinsed off that way. So you want it to dry down on your skin. Now, when you're using a face mask, with this kind of a mask, with a clay mask, we want it to dry on the skin and then you can remove it. So for most of us, that will happen within 10 minutes. Somebody who maybe had a very, very oily skin or had specific skin conditions might find it took a bit longer. It won't do you any damage to leave this mask on for longer. So if you were to leave it on for 20 minutes, for 3 hours, it's not going to do any harm. Because it's a clay mask, once it's dried onto the skin, you will find that it hardens and you do get some kind of white powder that falls. So you generally want to remove it after about half an hour max. When you are applying it, as long as you don't have a particularly sensitive eye area, you can add a little bit of extra water and smooth it around the eye area if you are prone to some puffiness. I generally don't, because I'm slightly more sensitive, but I have done it and it hasn't been a problem for me, so I know you're going to be okay. When you're using face masks, again, mindful application really comes into play. So if you're using this mask, you're going to want to apply it everywhere, perhaps. You might also want to use a moisture mask at the same time. Now, if you're using the Eve Lom moisture mask, you can actually mix the two together and apply them as one mask. What you can also do is apply the rescue mask across the T, and then you could apply the moisture mask to everywhere that felt dry or needed a little bit of extra hydration. My personal favourite would be to apply this one first, leave it on for 10 to 15 minutes, buff it off really thoroughly, and then apply the moisture mask to sleep in, because then you'll find the skin really absorbs the hydration. Now, when we're talking about mindful application of product, the other thing to bear in mind is how your products are going to work at their best. So I'm sure because you're in this masterclass, I'm assuming you're all fans of skincare and you all kind of know quite a bit about what you're doing. So when you know that we always talk about when you're applying your skincare products, you're looking to apply them essentially from lightest weight to heaviest weight. So after you've cleansed and toned, your normal routine would be essence, serum, oil, moisturizer, and SPF. What's important to remember is essentially all of those are optional choices in your skincare, apart from SPF, but that's a story for a different time. When we're talking about that mindful application, it does also sometimes depend on the product, on the brand that you're using. They might particularly recommend a product to use at a different point in the routine. One of the questions that comes up a lot is, when should I use eye cream and when should I use my facial oil? Now, facial oil, my preference is to use it underneath your moisturizer, because if you think about the textures, an oil is is actually lighter than a cream, and your cream is designed to maintain hydration at the skin's surface. If you have a skin that is really very healthy and really very nourished in the lower levels, you might not need anything other than a moisturizer. There are people out there who just need to cleanse and moisturize. We can hate them, but there are people out there who just need that, and that's fine. But if you're somebody who finds that your skin still feels tight and uncomfortable after you've just cleansed and moisturized, and your skin absorbs all of that moisture as soon as it possibly can, then you're somebody who probably needs something extra. Now, if what you're feeling with your skin is a tightness across it, I would always start with hydration. So that's generally best found in serums and moisture masks, things that are not just hydrating the skin, but also promoting a kind of long-term hydration. Our moisture collection, the Intense Hydration Serum and the Moisture Mask, are both designed not just to rehydrate your skin, but also to prevent future moisture loss. So in modern society, it's very, very difficult for any of us in the Western world to really avoid dehydration, because if you're in a polluted environment, your skin is dehydrated. If you're in air conditioning, if you're in central heating, if you're out and about, all of those environments are causing dehydration. They're leaching moisture from your skin. And avoiding a polluted environment, if you live in the UK, avoiding central heating if you live in the UK, air conditioning is slightly easier to avoid, but it's that whole thing about dehydration is constant. And unfortunately, no matter how much water you drink, that quite often won't have any impact on your skin. So what we're looking to do is maintain hydration first and foremost. If what you're noticing isn't so much just a tightness to your skin, but you're noticing some areas of redness, you're noticing perhaps some areas of flaking, your skin is looking and feeling quite sort of depleted, then I would say you need more nourishment, which is when you want to either go for a heavier moisturizer or you want to look at using a facial oil. Now, I come from a background of working in beauty. I've worked as a masseuse for a lot of years and as a facialist. And if I had to have a single product to take with me on a desert island, I would really struggle to choose, but I do love a facial oil. It makes the most difference to my skin, and you can massage it in and it just leaves your skin looking at its absolute best. I really do feel quite strongly, if people haven't chosen to do a lot with their skincare, the product that they're really going to notice a difference with is often a facial oil. But that is personal preference, so it does depend on what you like. And also, I think the other thing that's really important about skincare is it is important what you like. If you don't like using facial oils, then you should use serums and moisturizers, maybe an essence as well. You don't have to use an oil. Just if you don't like one, don't use one. Skincare, there is so many choices. So I'm going to now start to remove this product. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cloth and hold it over my skin and press it in just to get some water in there to make it a little bit easier to remove. The eagle-eyed among you will have noticed this is completely dried down on my skin, but I am just going to buff it off. Now, as I remove it with the cloth, you will see that there is a little bit of redness coming up, but that will go down really, really quickly. So I'm just going to buff this off. Any questions about the rescue mask or masks in particular? One of the things I would say about masks is you don't have to use them, but they are often the most kind of intense products. So you will find that they do make a huge difference if you do use one a few times a week. With the rescue mask, so if it's a clay-based mask, I would say you don't need to use it more than twice a week. But if you were using something like the moisture mask, you could use that as a rehydrating product to use overnight. You can sleep in it, you can always use it as a night cream, and you could use that as much as every night if you wanted. With a clay-based mask, because of what it's doing, because it's cleansing the skin, you don't need to use it more than twice a week. You'll just essentially really be wasting product to use it more than that. But with the moisture mask, because it's absorbing in, you'll find that you can use it as much as you like. So can you all see that that redness has gone down super quickly? My skin looks super healthy and quite radiant and glowing very quickly, even if I say so myself. One of the other things that's really great about the muslin cloths, and I won't do it on camera because it's a bit gross, but you know you're not supposed to use earbuds to clean out your ears. Well, when these have got a bit too soft to use anymore for your cleanser, you can actually keep them and use them for things like that, to cleanse your ears really thoroughly. They're also really good for children's fingernails when they're really muddy. Spot the former nanny. It really, really works to get all of the kind of grubbiness out. So it's a really useful thing to keep. I say never throw them away. I do have a colleague who uses them to clean with as dusters, which I think is a little too indulgent, but I use them to clean myself with. So that's different. I'm going to tone again. I like using a toner after I've used anything like a cleanser or a mask. Leaves my skin feeling really clean and clear. You do not have to tone every time after you've cleansed and then after you've used a mask. Essentially what I'm trying to show you is if you were to cleanse every day, you'd always follow with the toner. And then if you were to use a mask twice a week, you'd then follow with the toner. So I'm going to tone my skin. And then I'm going to start using, well, first of all, I'm just going to show you the difference between our serum and our oil, just so that you can see. And then I'm going to apply the Radiance Face Oil, which you guys should have in front of you, which smells absolutely delicious. It's got rose in it, so it smells beautiful. But you've also got this amazing combination of oils that are super hydrating and leave your skin looking really glowing and healthy. But the Intense Hydration Serum, I mentioned it, so I feel like I should show it. The Intense Hydration Serum has a really lightweight texture. So it looks like it's going to be a bit gloopy when you first apply it, and then as soon as you massage it in, it just disappears completely. So that's your super lightweight option. Now, for those of us who love a facial oil, of which I've already said I am one, the Radiance Face Oil is this one that you guys should have with you. You only need a few drops, and this one is a great multitask. You can use it on the ends of your hair, you can use it on cuticles, you can add it into a body product if you're using it, you can use it on elbows, heels, cuticles, anywhere. It is incredibly nourishing on the skin, but it does still absorb really quickly because it's hydrating above anything else. So it's got vitamin C in it, so that's where your radiance is primarily coming from. You don't need to use a whole pipette. I use about half, and again, as I said earlier, I'm warming it up between my fingers, and then I am smoothing it across the whole face. And now I'm going to start massaging. Now, I talked to you earlier about lymphatic drainage and massage. So on this massage, I'm going to work in a slightly different way. I'm going to look at increasing blood circulation. So my skin might go a little bit redder. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap all the way across my skin. So this is particularly good for boosting the immediate radiance of your skin. You might get a little bit of erythema initially, and then gradually that will die down. So we're going to be working in more of an upwards motion when we're looking at boosting circulation. We're also looking at those old rules of gravity, so we're helping to push things up. So by tapping over the skin, you're bringing the blood circulation to the skin surface, and you're making sure that that oil is properly absorbed. So just light finger tapping. Think of just tapping all the way over, as if you were pretending spiders were running over your face. I don't know why I said that, but I can't believe that image even came into my head. I'm an arachnophobe. And then we're going to start with the knuckles. So make fists, and you're going to start drawing back across your jawline. So you're actually going to do a nice lifting motion. So you're lifting towards your ears. And when you find a stopping point, that's usually where there's some tension. So you'll find that that lifts upwards towards your ears. And this you can do across all movements of the face. So all the areas we're going to lift up. Where you feel your skin feels tender, don't work deeply in that area. And the ideal pressure for massage is a moving pressure. So you actually want to keep the pressure moving away and lifting rather than digging into your face. You don't want to bruise. So, and then we're doing the same thing, lifting across, and you can already see the radiance kind of coming through to the skin. And what we're then going to do is do essentially the same pinching movements we did earlier, just slightly differently. So I'm going to take a really firm grip of my chin, and I'm going to push up rather than pull down. So I'm pushing up into my jawline, but I'm pinching above just to hold the movement. And then the next movement I'm going to do is around the lips, and then I'm going to end on the neck. So if you guys have any questions ahead of me finishing, because as usual I've talked too much, please just feel free to pop them into the chat. So what I'm going to do around the lips is I'm actually going to pull towards the outer corners, and then I'm going to do some little circles. One of the things that's really lovely about this facial oil is that it was clinically proven when we were launching it that it actually reduces fine lines and wrinkles around the eyes and the lips. So if you were looking to add a single product into your routine that made a big difference, the Radiance Face Oil is a really good one to add in, because it's going to help with those lines and wrinkles, it's going to maintain hydration, and you can also use it on your hair, on your cuticles, absolutely everywhere. So it's really, really good for massaging. Now, the other thing to do as well is to bear in mind where you carry tension on your face. So some circles to the temples is always really, really important. I sometimes get some tension on my top lip. I have a very small scar there. It used to be a lot worse. And I tend to massage backwards and forwards in some little circular motions, just making sure that if there is any tightness in that, it loosens down. On your fulcrum, the skin is quite sparse there, so there isn't a great deal of fatty tissue. So I have to make sure that scar does get plenty of kind of nourishment, if you like. And then anywhere else that you need, so nice circular motions. This is the point where I start sending myself to sleep. Sorry, guys. Do let me know if you have any questions. So we are just introducing circles to loosen down tension. Also, the magic rule of massage is do things in repetitions of 3, because your body finds it more relaxing. So if you are doing this before you go to sleep, do things 3 times. A lot of you will find if next time you go and have a massage, whilst you're still awake and conscious in your massage, if you actually count what your masseuse is doing, a lot of the time she'll be working, or he'll be working in 3s. So across the hairline as well, if you're somebody who draws your hair back a lot, I always do in the summer, you can actually do some great circles here, and you'd be amazed how much tension you carry. You can really feel it loosening down, and you can work around the ears. In ancient Chinese medicine, we don't recommend working directly on the ears if you are pregnant or trying to become pregnant, but you can work around them. And as long as there's no issue there, you can actually do some work just pulling down on the ears. When I used to have a social life, I used to wear really, really big earrings all the time. So I always really love massaging my ears. So then finally, I'm going to work on the neck. And for me, that is going to involve some nice sweeping motions up the neck, where you can really appreciate how many chins I have. And what I'm finally going to do in a nice little mirror image is the very first movement of the cleansing massage. I'm going to take 3 fingers behind my ear, and I'm just going to do some circles just to where I can feel the skull, the base of my skull connecting behind the ear. Some nice circles just to loosen down some tension. And then finally, I am going to finish with my moisturizer. I'm glad you've enjoyed the workshop, Emma. Does anyone have any questions at all?
I think there's a question there from Patricia about perimenopause.
Yes.
My answer. So,
well spotted. So Patricia, as you hit, any suggestions? Cleansing really thoroughly is really, really important. I think you'll find using the Rescue Toner really, really important. If you are finding, the only thing I need to know is, are you finding it's getting oilier everywhere, or still having issues with sensitivity and dryness in other places, and then oiliness just in the T-zone? Because don't ever be afraid. We talk a lot about just the T-zone. We talk a lot about multi-masking. Everyone knows you can use a mask in different places on your face. you can use different moisturizers and different products. So if you're finding you're getting the oiliness here, I would recommend using the toner all over your face, but I would maybe talk about using an oil-free moisturizer, something like the moisture lotion on your T-zone whilst you're having that issue. With the congestion, make sure you are cleansing thoroughly. Use the rescue toner twice a day, and obviously use the rescue mask. Those are the things that are going to make the most difference to your skin. It's always hard because as different stages happen, you feel like you're constantly fighting a different battle with your skin, and it's really challenging. But I would say if you're noticing an oilier skin tone, definitely stick to the rescue collection as the best option. The extra scrubbing when you're using the cloth, do buff off quite vigorously. Make sure that you're not left with any residue, because that also makes congestion worse. The reason why we talk so much about the cleanser always being used with the cloth is the cloth is really important, because you can't remove the Eve Lom cleanser with damp cotton wool pads. You won't remove it all, and you will be left with some residue. So do make sure that you remove it really thoroughly using the cloth, and also do use the toner afterwards, because that again is going to be working on the pore size themselves. The cleanser is going to flush everything clean, but you're going to want to make sure the toner is helping you with that pore size and that pore control, and that will also help the sebum production as the day goes on. So I'm now going to take some of the moisture cream and apply it. This one is hydrating and beautiful. It smells like heaven. It's got our comfort cocktail in here. So it's got lemon and lavender in it. And when you're using this, you're again going to warm it between your fingers, not dot it on your face. And you're going to apply it to the areas of your face that are driest and that need the most attention. So I'm always going to smooth up the neck. And then I'm going to smooth across the forehead. Now, when you're using your moisturizer, if you have to massage it for longer than I've just massaged it, the chances are you're using too much or the wrong kind of moisturizer. So remember, less is always more when you're using your skincare. Make sure you apply it mindfully to the areas that need it most. And don't forget, a little bit of massage now and again is the best thing for your skin. It will make the most difference. Does anyone have any other questions at all?
Can't see any further questions. But thank you so much to everyone for joining today. And we will be sending a follow-up with the full recording, because I know some people joined a little bit late. And so you can go through the full facial and kind of hear all of Erica's great knowledge. It was amazing masterclass. And yeah, I think we've all kind of learned that we need to make sure we're really getting all that makeup off. I think definitely something that I have learned to do, or I'm learning to do more so. But yeah, we'll be sending an email tomorrow with the recording, discount code, and yeah, if anyone has any more questions, shout now, or please do reply to our follow-up email yesterday, and we can kind of pass them on to the team. But if that is everything, and I think everyone's just saying thank you, really helpful, thank you for the goodie bags. I think everyone's really enjoyed the session. Obviously you anticipated all their questions and answered them throughout. You're very, very knowledgeable. But thank you everyone for attending, and please go and enjoy your evening. I think it's sunny here in London, so I might go out for a little walk. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks guys. Thanks everyone for joining. Goodbye.